Please remind everybody to silence your cell phones as well. Really here to say goodbye to Uncle Joe, Grandpa Joe, a friend to all of you, a beloved grandfather, great-grandfather, father, and already in many years past, a beloved husband, son, and grandson. I'm going to begin by the recitation of a few appropriate chapters of Tehillim. And then we will ask some of the family members to share their thoughts before I then share some thoughts as well. We begin with Tehillim Parak Aleph. Ashrei sheshavah b'atzis Hashem u'b'derech atim lo amad u'shov litzim lo yashav ki b'saras Adonai chavtzo u'b'saraso yigim b'layla v'yak eitz shesol pagi mayim asher b'yogi te'ini tov alei libo v'chol asher yaseh yatzliach Zochein Rishonim Kim Kamot Asher Chen Ruach Al Kei Le'Yakum Rishon B'Mishpat V'Kata In B'Tav Tzadikim Yodei Adonai Deret Tzadikim V'Deret Rishonim Tovei Mizmor LeDavid Adonai V'Gilo Echsar B'No Steshiyah Mitzeni Amen Menuchos Yinaleni Nafshi Yishovei Yanchei Nolad Leitzedek L'man Shino Gam Pielech Begates Al Moves Lo Yorok Yatali Modi Shit Tevot Mishan Tehal Emli and Achamudi Taro Lefon Shulchan Megit Sorai Dishtan Tov Hashem Yershi Kos Levaya Ach Tov Lo Chesed Yudifuni Kol Yidei Chayad Mishtavti B'Beis Adonai L'Arachim. I'm going to ask Mr. Bienstock's beloved daughter Elsa, please come and share her thoughts with us.
Can you remember a car costing $525, gas at 33 cents a gallon, a stamp at 2 cents, life with no tea bags, no Holland Tunnel, women without the right to vote, life without hair dryers, or traffic lights, or band-aids, or commercial airlines? This and many more was the way the world was when our dear father was born in 1920. But Joe never was left behind because he was a Renaissance man, defined as someone who is curious, creative, a risk taker, someone who has perseverance, self-discipline, a thirst for new knowledge and experiences, and most importantly, someone who is always learning. That was our dad. That was our Joe. That is the father that Miriam, Maish, and I were blessed to have, who, by the way, he lived his life and who led by example and action day by day. He was our role model and the basis of who we are or try to be today. That is the role model for Joe's beloved grandsons, granddaughter, and their children. Joe's way of life also embodied every one of the values that we all ascribe to: trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. There's not one of these that does not describe what Joe practiced in his daily life throughout his whole lifetime. For daily living and by example, Joe and our beloved mom instilled basic Jewish values and traditions in each of their children. For all this, we're very fortunate and blessed and thankful. What did a city boy like Joe know about chicken farming, or winemaking, or growing beautiful fruits, vegetables, and flowers, or beautiful wood carving, photography, or building furniture and other household items that he could have bought, but he preferred to craft by himself? Joe handcrafted and gave away so many yachts, sculptures. He baked the most amazing pies from scratch, baked hundreds of fruit cakes before Rosh Hashanah to send out to family and friends. He did all of this, all the baking, until he was almost 97 when he moved from Valley. Although he always regretted not having advanced formal education, in the University of Life, Joe earned doctorates and accolades many times over. He was respected and loved by so many. He was everyone's grandpa for Uncle Joe. There will never be a day that we will not think of you and remember how very special you have been as father and grandfather. We thank you for all of the wonderful experiences, the memories, the wisdom, and most of all, the way you lived your life as an example for all of us to follow. It's been a life where you have always done the right thing, whether it was tradition, religion, ethical actions, caring, and concern for others, and especially the love of the land. For countless reasons, we have been so fortunate to have you in our lives for all these years, and to be honored to be our honored father. Thank you. Before I conclude, I want to share my husband's, Walter's, love and respect as well. Unfortunately, he could not be here today as he's moving forward from a recent surgery and was unable to travel. On behalf of Maish and myself, as well as our spouses, I want to especially thank Miriam for all that you have done to help Dad in the last 6 years that he's been at Monsey and in Mountain View. She has single-handedly cared and provided for him above and beyond. And to his incredible caretakers, devoted and wonderful, Maria and Randy, from all of us, we thank you, and we can't even express how appreciation we have for you both, and actually the twin sons and Maria, and the concern and the care and the respect and the devotion that you gave Joe, our father, will always be in our thoughts and our hearts as well. Ruch Dayam Hamet, we say shalom, but never goodbye to our dear father, grandfather, great-grandfather.
Now, the family would like to call upon Joe's beloved grandson, Shimon, to share his thoughts.
Speaking on behalf of the grandchildren and great-grandchildren, I can say that we feel very fortunate to have been his grandchildren and great-grandchildren. There are beautiful stories about grandpa and his family who miraculous escape from Europe. One of those stories was that the family had escaped and they reunited in Antwerp. And at some point, Antwerp was invaded by the Germans, and they got onto the train going to Paris. And about halfway there, the train was bombed, and they had to get off. And they wound up in some area, and they went out and they started touring the area. And he knew some French, so he was a tour guide. And then they were stopped by the police, And when the papers were checked, and since he was a military agent, he was supposed to come back the next morning. And he went to the police station, was arrested, and he was sent to some labor camp. And they were there until a certain point when France surrendered to the Germans, and the commander opened the gate and said, whoever can save himself, come with that. And so he was with a friend, and the only thing he had was his phylacteries, and a coat, and no money, and they were going together, and at some point he had they had a choice of which direction to go. And his friend wanted to go one way, he wanted to go another way, and and so he went. He decided one way to go, and landed in a certain city in southern France, and he met somebody that he knew from Dortmund, from where he grew up. And the person said, "Oh, I just happened to have seen your father here." And he had been camping out in a school. And so he waited there, and a few hours later, his father came. And a few days later, the same thing happened, and he met his mother and his sister. It's just one in the same city. So it's just one of the miracles that we have to thank Hashem for in his escape from Europe. He was fascinated by learning. He read the New York Times every day and knew the politics and science and much more. He was very interested in areas of Torah that connected to practicality, and he found the Jewish calendar fascinating and would order us calendar from the organization, charity organization, Torah every year, and has all the instructions for how to run a synagogue. He was also fascinated with the calendar, and for a very long time, many years, and this coming week, 2 days ago, I was quoted, but everyone was quoted. She called me to wish me good happiness. There was a project that he wanted to do, nothing would stop him, and he did the groundwork for writing the Sefer Torah, Likudei Nishmas, our beloved brother, Shalom. I'd like to thank Ima for diligently taking care of Grandpa, taking care of everything he needs, his schedule, the supplies, groceries, and spending time with him and running each other's company. I'd like to thank Mason Jan for managing the property, taking care of Grandpa's mail and much of the behind the scenes work. And I'd like to thank Elsa for providing Grandpa with spirit and excitement, taking Grandpa on trips, taking picture books, and keeping him up to date with the clothing style. I'd like to thank Maria, Randy, and Randy for their dedicated help for the last 6 years. And to Hamilton for being such a beautiful living arrangement that was right down the road, that even almost made it to Grandpa standards. He's a good.
I apologize in advance for my laryngitis. I did not do this purposefully, certainly, but somehow I had a summer case of laryngitis. And had I been called upon to speak about a lesser person, I asked them out of declined. But when you're talking about the greatest generation, You're talking about one of the last vestiges of that greatest generation. But you're called upon to pay last respect to a man who was at the Battle of the Bulge, to a flag-draped coffin of one of the greats born in darkened Germany in 1920. Monsey, New York in 2023. As you heard before, so elegantly expressed, in a different world, almost a different planet from the one in which he was born. And I want to talk this morning about words you don't hear anymore. Words you don't hear like valor, courage, loyalty, honesty, responsibility, dedication, love. Words that somehow have been lost to the TikTok generation. And yet, Grandpa Joe, Uncle Joe, the quietly great Joe Bienstock,